Okay, we just had a brief interruption due to the network issue, but now we are continuing from where we left off. So let's move into the next thing, waking up from the illusion for our own thoughts. So liberate yourself from delusive thoughts. This is a bad translation, yes. So many people live inside the world created by their own thinking, yet they are not aware of it at all. They assume that whatever appears in the mind must be true, and they rarely question it. But in reality, thoughts are not facts, they are interpretations shaped by memory, emotion, and conditioning. When we mistake these thoughts for truth, we begin to build pressure, anxiety, and unnecessary suffering and ourselves. And we start to react to what is in our mind instead of responding to what is actually happening. This is how people trap themselves, not because life itself is inherently difficult, but because the mind keeps adding layers of illusion. So, as an old Chinese saying goes, 世上本无事，庸人自扰之. There are no real problems in the world. It is people who create trouble for themselves. So, do you agree with this? There are no real problems in the world. It is people who create trouble for themselves. So this doesn't mean life has no challenges, but it points to how much of our suffering is amplified by misunderstanding. So in this session, we are not trying to change reality. We are learning how to see through the illusion created by the mind. The moment you begin to see your thoughts clearly, you create a space between you and the illusion. And that space is where clarity begins. So let's begin. Wow. So a friend once shared an amusing anecdote with me. She visited a small bar to chat with someone, and they each ordered a glass of sparkling wine, not being much of a drinker. She began feeling dizzy after drinking half a glass. Curiously, when her companion checked the wine bottle, he found out that the wine had zero alcohol content. In reality, my friend had gotten tipsy on half a glass of soda. This incident later served as proof of her low alcohol tolerance, eliciting laughter from many people. But was it truly the soda that made her feel drunk? Of course not. It was her delusive thoughts which led her to mistake the false for the real. So you can see how powerful the mind can be. And what was it the drink that made her feel dizzy, or was it her belief about the drink? So her body is actually reacted not to reality, but to what her mind believed to be true. So this is how powerful our thoughts can be. In daily life, we do the same thing all the time, just in less obvious way. And we assume something is a problem, and the body reacts with stress. And we believe someone is judging us, and we feel anxious or defensive. We create a story in the mind, and then we live inside that story as if it were real. And this is what we call the illusion of thoughts. Not because nothing exists, but because we keep misinterpreting what is actually happening. And just like that glass of wine, many of the things we react to are not what we think they are. Hello, I see some new friends here. Please subscribe to our channel. We are today in the live session. We are talking mainly about the spiritual wisdom from the works of Xue Mo. So from his book, the world is a reflection of the mind. The world is a reflection of the mind. Okay, now let's continue. The most people live under the deception of delusive thoughts, but they often remain oblivious to it. They believe their thoughts reflect the true nature of reality and use this perceived truth to burden themselves, creating their own applications. As the ancients said, fundamentally, there are no problems in this world. It's the foolish who create them. Why do people often create problems for themselves? It's because many people mistake delusions for reality, remaining obvious to the true nature of the world, just as someone in a dream might be chased by a fierce beast and fall into extreme fear. Upon waking, they realize it was merely a dream and are thus freed from the illusory terror. Therefore, only by recognizing the truth of impermanence and no longer clinging to the delusive as reality, one can truly liberate themselves from the deception and influence of delusive thoughts. Okay, thank you for your kind words here. Yes, we all stuck in the stories we created by ourselves because we see the world through our filtered lens. From the world is actually filtered by our own perspective, and so different people will have different view about the same phenomenon. That is what we say, why we say the world is a reflection of our mind. Yes, I just back because of the network issue. It is just being shut down. And thank you for coming back. Yeah, I think most of us are stuck by our own stories created by our own mind, and most people are living under the influence of their own thoughts, yet they are not aware of it. They assume that what they think must reflect reality, and they rarely question that assumption. So, because of this, they use these thoughts as a reference point and begin to judge, react, and create pressure for themselves. Over time, this leads to unnecessary suffering that feels real, even though it is largely self-created. So again, there is an old saying an old saying in China. It is says, 世上本无事，庸人自扰之. So there are no so many real problems in the world, but people create trouble for themselves. Do you agree that? There is no real problems in the world, but people create trouble for themselves. Hi, thank you for sharing your idea here. Hello. You are our old friend, right? Yes, so many friends here. So, do you agree with this? There are no real problems in the world, but people create trouble for themselves. So why do people keep creating problems for themselves again and again? The root or the reason is simple, but many people mistake their interpretations for reality without realizing it. They're not reacting to what is actually happening. They're not reacting to the reality, but to the story created in their own mind. So this is very similar to a dream. In a dream, you feel fear, tension, even panic, as if everything is real. You may be chased, be threatened, be trapped, and your body will react as if it is truly happening. But when the moment you wake up, you realize that nothing actually happened. The fear disappears not because the situation was solved, but because you saw it clearly. In the same way, many of the fears and pressures we carry in daily life are built on misinterpretations. So I have been aware of that I always have a, insecurity about living because I have to depend on myself. No one can support me. So actually, I have the pressure about living, though my income and my wealth is not bad, but I still feel a pressure of living. And they feel real, but they are not as solid as we think. So the key is not to fight every thought, but to see through them. When you begin to see that the thoughts are constantly changing, incomplete, and often biases, your relationship with them shifts. You no longer need to treat them as absolute truth, and that is the beginning of freedom, not by controlling reality, but by understanding the nature of the mind. Yeah, if you are strong connected with something, even the smallest thing will become very expensive. I also see this is real, right? Okay, let's continue. The power of delusive thoughts is tremendous. Each of our thoughts, attitudes, and perceptions of the world bears its traces, largely because we have too many personal biases and perspectives. Well, sometimes this may originate from a prevailing social consensus. Does such consensus really represent the world truth? Apparently not. No, we are all familiar with the phenomenon known as the collective unconscious. Thank you for your agree. Thank you, and thank you for your time. Time is precious. And so the influence of our thoughts is far more powerful than most people realize. And every thought we have, every attitude we hold, and every way we interpret the world carries traces of our inner conditioning, right? So much of this comes from personal bias, habits, and the way we have been shaped by past experience. But it does not stop at the individual level. Sometimes what we believe is not even purely our own thinking, but something absorbed from the environment around us. We adopt views, opinions, and reactions that are widely accepted without questioning them deeply. And this creates what we feel like a shared understanding of reality. And this creates what feels like shared understanding of reality. But the question is, does collective agreement equal truth? The answer is not necessarily. History has shown many times that widely accepted beliefs can still be incomplete or even misleading. What we often call normal thinking is simply thinking that have been repeated and reinforced over time. So in psychology, this is sometimes described as the collective unconscious, 集体无意识, collective unconscious. It refers to patterns of thinking and the perception that are shared across groups, cultures, or even generations. When we are not aware of this, we not only follow our own thoughts, but also inherit the blind spots of the collective. This makes the illusion even stronger because it feels confirmed by everyone around us. But the more something is repeated, the more important it becomes to examine it clearly, because clarity does not come from agreement, it comes from direct understanding. So, how can one break free from the control of delusion and return to one's true mind? To begin with, we need to understand the nature of delusive thoughts. These are thoughts formed in response to external situations, continuously changing along with external conditions. Take during, for example, you might initially feel disgusted by its smell and develop a strong aversion, even avoiding anyone who's eaten it. But one day, the girl you admire invites you to try it. Reluctantly, you agree, and to your surprise, you find it tasty. From then on, not only do you stop disliking its aroma, but you also start to enjoy everything related to it. Your previous biases and aversions, born from delusive thoughts, are transformed. When you abide in your true nature, not clinging to these thoughts, they become wondrous expressions of the true mind, helping you perceive this world. However, if you become attached to these thoughts, allowing them to reproduce endless like frogs, they will disturb your mind and prevent you from identifying the right direction. Yeah, thank you. Yes, all the innovations was based on beliefs. It was so blind thinking. Yeah, actually, they are just unconscious repeat thinking. So, how can we begin to step out of the control of these delusive thoughts and return to a clearer state of mind? The first step is not to fight thoughts, but to understand their nature. Delusive thoughts are not fixed truth. They are responses shaped by external conditions and constantly changing. And they arise, shift, and disappear depending on circumstances, experiences, and influences. So let's take a simple example. Imagine, hello, are you from Hong Kong? Of course, I'm Chinese. I do speak Mandarin. And we are introducing the, yeah. Please subscribe to our channel. Our Hong Kong friend here. Thank you. Everything I said is true. Thank you for your support. Actually, these are everything what Xue Mo says. So, thank you for coming by. Please subscribe to our channel. We are sharing the insight and wisdom from the works of the Chinese writer, Mr. Xue Mo. And today we are sharing the book, The World is a Reflection of the Mind. You can find this book on Amazon and search for Xuemo, Xuemo. It's okay. It's okay. Hi. What do you mean what word? Do you mean the book? The world is a reflection of the mind. It is on Amazon. So let's take a simple example. Imagine you encounter durian for the first time and feel disgusted by its smell. Anyone likes durian in this live stream? Tell me, what do you think about durian? What's your... So you might develop a strong dislike and even avoid people who have eaten it. At that moment, your reaction feels completely real and justified. But one day, someone important to you invites you to try it. You hesitate, but you decide to give it a chance. And surprisingly, you find that it is actually enjoyable. From that moment on, your entire perception begins to change. What you once rejected now becomes something you accept, even enjoy. So this shows that your previous aversion was not an absolute truth, but a temporary interpretation. And this is exactly how delusive thoughts work and how the inner habits work. They feel real when they arise, but they are not stable and they can transform completely. So the key is not to suppress thoughts, but not to cling to them. Right? The key is not to suppress thoughts, but to not to cling to them. I'm not the author. The author is Mr. Xue Mo. In the poster on the background, Xuemo, Xuemo. Xuemo is a well-known contemporary Chinese writer from Western China, and he has written over 80 titles with over 200 editions and have been translated into 28 languages. And there are over 10 of his books have been translated into foreign language, and the others are in Chinese, both in, you know, 简体中文和繁体字. So Hong Kong people also can read Xuemo's works. Many 繁体字的书籍在我们的网站 online global shop.xuemo.com. You can find all his 80 books, both in Chinese and foreign language. And the Chinese, there are also 2 editions. You know that the Hong Kong friend, it is simple Chinese and also the 繁体字. How to say that? So we are introducing Xuemo's works. You can check Xuemo. Okay, I will show the Chinese word 作家 Xuemo. Are you still there? The Chinese word of 作家 Xuemo is missing. Okay, you can see this, right? Okay. So the key is not to suppress thoughts, but not to cling to them. When you allow thoughts to come and go without holding on to them, they lose their power to disturb you. In that state, thoughts become tools for understanding rather than sources of confusion. But when we attach them, repeating and reinforcing them again and again, they begin to multiply. They grow in number and intensity, filling the mind with noise and distraction. And in that noise, it becomes difficult to see clearly or make grounded decisions. So returning to clarity is not about eliminating thoughts, but about changing your relationship with them. So, such is the nature of life. Do not regret the past or worry about the future. Simplify, simply, simply seize the present moment, doing your utmost in fulfilling your tasks and making positive impact on the world. As for the rest, let it be. By adopting this mindset, you'll naturally live a poetic life with a loving heart. Hello, I see the new friends here. Welcome to our channel. Please subscribe to our page. It's a space about inner growth, inner peace, clarity, and so the nature of the life is constantly changing, never fully in our control, yet always available in the present moment. There is no need to be trapped in the past or overwhelmed by what has not yet happened. Regret and worry are both forms of thought, not the reality you are living. And what truly matters is much simpler than we often make it. Be present, focus on what is in front of you, and do it as well as you can. When you give your full attention to the present, the mind naturally becomes quieter. And from that clarity, your actions become more grounded, more meaningful, and more aligned. You don't need to control everything. You don't need to figure everything out. Do what you can, contribute to what you can, and allow the rest to unfold. And this is not passivity. It is a different kind of strength, a strength that comes from clarity, not from tension. So a strength that allows you to move through life with more ease and less resistance. And when the mind is no longer burdened by constant illusion, something else begins to emerge. A quieter presence, a deeper awareness, and a more genuine sense of connection. And from there, life does not need to be forced into meaning. It begins to feel meaningful on its own. Yes, we are doing the live stream at different times every day. Welcome, and to the new friends here, please subscribe to our channel. We are introducing the works, the spiritual wisdom and the human warmth from the works by the Chinese writer, Mr. Xue Mo. So, as we come to the end of today's session, let's take a moment to bring everything back to a simple point of clarity. What we explore today is not just a set of ideas, but a way of seeing how the mind shapes our experience. And through this, we begin to understand that many of our struggles are not from reality itself, but from how we interpret it. And the sharing is inspired by the work of Xue Mo, a contemporary Chinese writer whose books bring together literature, culture, and deep reflections on the human mind. And his works do not ask you to believe anything blindly, but invite you to observe your own mind and experience directly through essays, stories, philosophy, and lived insight. They offer a different way of understanding life, one that is both grounded and expansive. In today's live session, uh, if today's live session resonated with you, you can explore more of these books through his books and continue this journey at your own pace. So thank you for being here, for listening, and for taking this time to reflect. Take care of your mind, stay aware, and we will see you again in the next session.